So Peter, what are you excited about these days? What are you doing?
Okay, well, I've got three things that I'm working on. I mean, the first thing, and probably what's consuming most of my time right now, is the Product Owner Festival itself, which is something really new for me. Trying to put on a global event, and it's proving very exciting and very satisfying. The second thing is I've started working on personal agility about 5 years ago, and I started working on the book about 4.5 years ago, and the book now has a deadline, and our goal is to get the book out for the 1st of June. Okay, and we've been collaborating with the Business Agility Institute. They're going to be our publishers. They have supplied us an amazing editor, and who's really helping the book forward. And so I'm really excited about this collaboration and actually seeing the final version of the book. The last thing that I've been on that's on my radar screen is the Agile Contract Manifesto. And so, 20 years ago, software developers started saying, how can we do our jobs better? And they started this movement, which became known as the Agile Software Movement, and people kept trying to apply Agile to other things. Now, we can have a conversation as to whether it works or not, but one of the things that companies have discovered is they need to be more responsive to changes. They need to be able to collaborate with each other more effectively. And just as developers were trying to figure out how to share this knowledge with the rest of the world, we had practitioners in the area of procurement and development and, on the vendor side, we said, what are the things that seem to work? Okay, and surprisingly enough, we came up with a document very similar to the original Agile Manifesto, 4 principles, an introduction, a couple of introductory statements, and 4 values and 10 principles. No, 10, not 12. That was just a coincidence. We didn't set out to copy the manifesto, the original manifesto, that closely, but this is what we came up with. And people are paying attention. And so on the 19th of May, if you go to Agile Contract Manifesto, you'll find we have kind of a deep dive on it where we're going to be discussing the Agile Contract Manifesto with senior practitioners on all sides of the table. I think for me, one of the most interesting companies is Swift. Swift was in the news because of the sanctions that have been applied in recent months. And imagine companies of that caliber and that importance, coming out and having a conversation about something agile. So I think there's something real here. So that's exciting too. 19th of May.
Lovely. Lovely. I think I'm taking the honor to be part of or be supporting for at least 2 initiatives that you are doing with you. So it is really an honor for me as
We
well.
can use another volunteer for the manifesto.
Yeah, and then it's quite an exciting feature because you mentioned that you're working on 3 major initiatives. Now, I'm really curious to ask, like, what brings the clarity for you to where to give your focus, how to prioritize, and where to give the energy, right time to the right thing?
Shiny objects.
Ah.
The reason I write about prioritization and focus is
Yes.
because I'm not very good at it, and so I have to work at it very, very hard. And I do try to make visible how I spend my time, and I try to make visible how it's helping me, and in particular the things that are giving me energy and taking me forward. And by reflecting on that and making that visible, you can also see what are the anchors, what are the things that are slowing you down. And so, I try to make sure that what I'm doing is mostly giving me energy, and the things that drain my energy, I try to do less of most of the time.
Yeah, I think
But
that's just really helpful.
but it's funny, I think about, what are the things I'm doing that people might remember 20 years from now? Okay, and I think the Agile Contract Manifesto. Well, I'd like to believe it's going to be personal agility, but if people are still practicing personal agility 20 years from now, that would be amazing. If people are still referring to the Agile Contract Manifesto 20 years from now, that would be amazing too. And I think both of these things are real possibilities. I hope so.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful because anchoring your initiatives to a very long-term vision really helps you to drive on what you do. Yeah. Well, so that brings me to the question about when you talk about the prioritization also, what product ownership means to you, Peter?
One of my favorite terms, my favorite expressions to describe product ownership comes from Steve Denning. And his idea was, you have a group of people creating something, whatever that something is, and you have some other people who are going to benefit from it. And what's really motivating is to have that clear line of sight between the people doing the work and the people who are benefiting from the work. And his example was a baker in the south of France who knew exactly why his clientele came to him and why the clientele that went to his competition did not come to him. And he would be okay with that. So, for me, I think a big part of product ownership is creating that clear line of sight between the people building the product and the people who are going to be using the product. Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is I think the product owner is a solution to the alignment problem. Okay, especially in large organizations, you got lots of people who have an opinion about what the product is supposed to be and what it's supposed to do, and whether it's doing it right. And, the discussions can kind of go on and on and on. Now, Scrum doesn't really solve the problem, but it defines this product owner whose job it is to solve the problem. If you want something from the product, you talk to the product owner. If the team wants to know what they're working on, they talk to the product owner. If we want to know if something is done, the product owner has the final say. Okay, so it tries to create a lot of clarity around the decision-making process. And one of my big aha moments as we've been getting prepared for this, I listened to Bob today, or perhaps Joe Justice a couple weeks ago. There's more than one way to be a product owner. There's more than one way to handle product ownership. It doesn't have to be the way Scrum does it. But Scrum gives you a solution which at least is a good place to start. I'm not sure it's nirvana, but it's a good place to start. And it's really about creating alignment about what the product is supposed to be, and create focus on doing the right thing. So this vision, focus, flow, that for me really is the product ownership. It's not about I'm the guy who gets to decide what's in the backlog. It's about having that shared vision, focus about what we're doing now, and having a reasonable flow of work in and out of the team. That's kind of, I think, what makes, that's the side of good product ownership.
Wow, it's really amazing. The clear line of sight,
Yeah.
solution to alignment problem, and the vision focus flow.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Peter. Yeah, so curious to ask, what people are going to discover from your topic, Peter?
I hope they're going to discover that Scrum and product ownership are all about common sense. And it's funny because I think what we try to do, what a good Scrum team tries to do is, even in a dysfunctional environment, is create this island of common sense where they can work and work together effectively. And that's kind of the roots of Scrum, is this island of common sense. Today, we're trying to get whole companies to be islands of common sense, which I think is a bigger challenge. But like Bob was talking about using coaching, I've moved to using the term dialogue, okay, as kind of a more general term than coaching that has a bit less baggage than the word coaching. But the idea is, what makes great product ownership are the great conversations, and what makes a great development project are the great conversations. And so, what I hope people come away with from my sessions, I'm actually going to be doing 3 sessions. One is going to be about the Scrum flow. One is going to be about requirements and visions and ideas and backlogs, and how do we get from the vision to the backlog. And the last one is going to be about estimation and planning, which I guess is really about dealing with your stakeholders. In any case, what I'm hoping that people will come up with is kind of how do we have good conversations with everybody involved, so that we come up with good answers. Maybe not always the right answer on the first try. Sometimes you have to iterate on that. But that we come up with good answers to our questions, that we ask the right questions, and that enables us to create great products. So, my hope is that after people have attended my sessions, they'll have a very down-to-earth, very pragmatic, but also very open and willing to discuss attitude towards development, which will make their lives easier moving forward.
Awesome. So, Peter, would you like to share who's going to be really benefiting from your topic, and is there something you want to reveal at this point of time for them?
Who's going to be benefiting? Well, obviously, if you're already a practicing product owner, but also if you're anywhere near the Scrum team, in the Scrum team or working with the Scrum team, I think you'll get a good appreciation of how Scrum works and why, and more importantly, why Scrum works. For me, the difference between, the theme was master the basics. Now, what does mastery mean? Well, for me, mastery means you've got a deeper understanding of the whys behind the hows. So, a lot of what you learn in your basic Scrum training gives you the how. And what I really want to do is go deeper into the why, so that people are able to, be more flexible and have, reflect more deeply about their situations, so they can come up with better answers and not have to kind of fall back on the, well, this is what the Scrum Guide says, because that only convinces the people who are already convinced. And I want to be able to help people have good discussions at work so that they can do great things and have fun while they're doing it.